What is up everybody? Welcome to today's video, Fast and Fun Friday Run Series, where today I'll be talking about how to run a faster marathon. Yeah, let's go! Oh yes, my friends, a very warm welcome. My name is Donato and welcome to today's video as part of the Fast and Fun Friday Run Series. Today I'll be talking about how to run a faster marathon, and for a lot of you guys out there, you want to run Boston qualifiers, good for age qualifiers at London Marathon, and qualify for other marathon majors as I've done. New York, Chicago, Boston, London. So let's get going. Yeah? So yes guys, just a few formalities before I get started, and that is a very warm welcome to all the new subscribers here. And if you are new and you haven't subscribed just yet, please do consider click on the link there and subscribe. And also, if you are new here and haven't seen any of the preludes, I'd recommend having a preview of the link up there of the video that is basically a prelude to this particular run series, giving you a bit of a background about myself, where I've come from, and so to put in perspective some of the information that I'm about to give you in terms of running a marathon. Yeah, so have a look at that. And also for you guys, whether you've been new, long-term subscribers, I really do appreciate your support. But I've got a little link down below if you'd like to buy me a coffee. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's a coffee, I think it's pronounced. So there's a website down. If you look on the link, it's coffee/Donato. And you can buy me a coffee if you find this video or any of the things on my channel particularly useful, and help me along and get that little drink that I need every now and again, yeah? Okay, thank you so much. So yes, with the formalities over, let's get cracking on with the details. So I'm going to be covering 5 areas, and from the feedback that I've had from a number of people wanting this to be a bit more interactive. So you guys watching this, leave some comments below as I'm going through this. What works for you? What helps you run a faster marathon? What's worked for you? Because there's a lot more experienced people out there watching this than myself. As I say, if you've watched that prelude, I've only been going for a couple of years. Whilst I may have already qualified for 4 of the marathon majors, 4 of the 6, and I'm looking to qualify for the remaining 2 as well. As I get quicker, there's things that may work for you guys and use for tips for those reading it, because this is more of a community type channel where you can leave some comments and engage with other people commenting on there as well. So let's have it interactive. And as well as that, obviously being the Fast and Fun Friday Run Series, there's 5 aspects that I want to cover. And the 5 being having a training plan, what diet we need to be following, in terms of reduction of risk of injuries, particular for marathon training, how we can reduce those risks. Number 4, race day strategy. When we get to that actual marathon race day, what strategies, that tips and help can I give you on there? And then a summary in terms of the 5th tip, it's 5th point, a summary for all the top ideas on there and some of the key facts and takeaways to help it. So without further ado, let's get on with these, yeah? So the first one, yes, the first one is the training. What training do we need to do to run a faster marathon or a good for age London qualifier, Boston Marathon qualifier for all the age groups? As I mentioned, just in quick summary, if you've watched the prelude, I qualified for 4 of the marathon majors in my 2nd marathon. So what did I do to do that? And in essence, it was the training. Whilst I'd done some great training for my 1st marathon, it was essential that I found something that worked for me. So to get those times and to get quicker, so if you're starting from scratch and never ran a marathon before, it may take a while, depending on your level of fitness, to get to those qualifying times. Or if you are already starting at a good level, they say within between 6 months and 2 years, we should be able to get to qualifying times to qualify as a good for age for London Marathon or Boston qualifiers as well, and also New York City Marathon, Chicago Marathon, Berlin. Although Berlin, you have to be pretty damn quick, almost irrespective of age. I think for my age, I have to run a sub 2:55 to do that. Up to now, I've run a 3:06. But I'm looking to get quicker. So yeah, it's the training plan is essential. But what training plan should we have? What works for us? For for me, whatever training plan you have, because everybody is different. Yeah, I know it's maybe stating the obvious. Whilst we're all different, we're all similar. So the training needs to be one thing and one thing only, and that is consistent. You need a consistent training plan and work out based on your lifestyle and your circumstances, because everybody's different. Some of us have highly stressful jobs, families, children, wives, husbands, multiple, whatever, lots and lots of things going on. And we've got to fit the training in around that whole life thing, yeah, this thing called life. Now, you may be fortunate enough where you don't have so many dependents and all those, and you can sort of run whenever you want, which is fantastic, yeah, if you can do that. But for a lot of us who have day jobs, 9 to 5s or whatever the hours may be, work what works for you. So for some people, and I know that the key thing, what worked for me in my first marathon, and I stepped up a little into the second, was just 3 training runs a week. And they're all, for me, essentially they're all at the same pace, because I didn't have any watches. I've got a watch now to monitor, to record what pace I've run at, but I'll just go out and run. And it'd be run for a certain amount of time, and that would be it. But find a plan that works for you and the number of days that you can commit to. Don't try and overcommit and think, oh yeah, I can run 5-6 days a week, and then find that you're struggling doing that, because that only puts pressure on yourself. So work on something, maybe make it a bit more conservative, but I would say a minimum of 3. I have heard of people doing 2 training runs a week, and they have other types of training, cross training, and they've run under 2:30 marathons, 2 hours 30 minutes with just 2 runs a week. I don't know exactly what runs they were doing and what other training they were doing, but that is certainly the case for some people. I think you might be able to Google run less, run fast, and there's all sorts of information out there, but find a training plan that works for you. But I would say 3 as a minimum, and those runs essentially is two short ones, 2, and the third one being a long run. And the day that you do that long run is entirely up to yourself. And for me, working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, was the best time for me to do a long run, and because my longest long run would be no more than 3 hours. Yeah, so having done 3 hours of running and then needing to recover from that, it's fitting that in with a 9 to 5 job didn't really work Monday to Friday. So for me, a Saturday or Sunday, and I'd vary it sometimes depending on what my family commitments were. The long run would be on the Saturday morning. Sometimes the long run would be on a Sunday morning, but I prefer the morning for me, as that works great for me. And as part of the training, and in particular for marathon training, mornings are great because we can schedule in some what we call fasted runs, yeah? And a fasted run, what I mean by that is not having any breakfast or anything before the actual run, and just going out for a run at a nice easy pace, which helps adapt our body to burn fat, yeah? And the key thing on those easy runs is running at an easy pace. And what do I mean by easy pace? Easy pace, in the non-scientific way, is conversational. If we want to bring in science, because sometimes conversational could be different types of conversation, but one that's, you can hold a reasonable conversation. If you're out of breath, you're going too fast, and if the conversation's too easy, you're going too slow. But if you're looking at a scientific way, and you do have the luxury of having one of these watches and a heart rate monitor, I think certainly on the Garmin's, I don't know about other technology, Zone 2. So if you've put in all your information in there, there's a training area called Zone 2, and that's based on effort, not pace. Now, whilst I appreciate sometimes the pace can relate to the effort, but sometimes there is the weather, climate, terrain, all those can impact the particular pace, and that can impact your effort as well. So work to Zone 2, easy runs, because it's essential that we build a solid aerobic foundation base. That's what we need for marathon running, and that's essential. So whatever training plan you find, there should be a good large section in there for easy runs and building that aerobic base. Yeah, and now for me, I found certainly in the run up to Chicago, that's the Chicago flag back there. When I ran a 3:06, the majority, I would say over 90% of my runs were all easy. Easy, easy, easy. And only a couple of weeks before the actual race, I'd throw in a few speed sessions just to get the speed up, and I would maybe do a park run, a fast park run, a week, 2 weeks before. Some people do a park run on the Saturday before the marathon race on the Sunday, just to get the speed of the speed fiber muscles, because we've got different muscle fibers to get the fast twitch muscles going so that we can run faster and sustain that. But essentially, because it's such a long way, 26.2 miles or 42.2 kilometers, we need a solid aerobic base, and that's essential as part of the training. Yeah. Number two, and this is probably the most hotly debated topic, and that's diet. You know, what do we need to eat on a daily basis? Yeah, because it's not just about what we eat during the race. Yeah, it's what we eat on a daily basis, day in, day out, week in, week out. And having had some top nutritionists, and you can click on the links up there, having had some top nutritionists as guests, the key message in terms of diet, it needs to be a healthy, balanced, whole food diet. Yeah, no, reducing the amount of sugars, reducing the amount of processed food. So essentially, good, wholesome food. Yeah, greens, vegetables, and a mix of carbohydrates, protein, fat, all that kind of stuff. All good, balanced food. Oops, I had to twitch on my nose there. So yes, a balanced diet. Now, for me, in terms of what I eat, I use myself as an example. I've run a 3:06. Yeah, I eat, 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and set meals, nicely spread out. So it's an even amount of food throughout the day. So my body's consistently burning energies. And I do often go to some fast food outlets. Some people say that pizza is fast food. I love my pizzas. I love Chinese takeaways. I love Indian food. I love Thai food. I love all food. I love a good fry up as well, an English fry, egg, bacon, sausages. I love that kind of food, but I don't eat it every day. Yeah? So I don't have pizza for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Some may think I do, but I don't. And I don't have Chinese takeaways for breakfast, lunch and dinner. No, yeah. So it's a balanced diet. Now, a lot of information that's put out there on the interwebs, and this is what makes it controversial. Some of it is geared to elite athletes, who are running around 2 hours 5, 2 hours 15. If you want to follow those kinds of diets, that's entirely up to you. And yes, that may help you run faster as well. But as I mentioned, in terms of this series, it's the Fast and Fun Friday Run series. So for me, I want to have a lot of fun and enjoy it. I'm not a professional runner by any stretch of the imagination. So whilst it's not my occupation, I want to have fun. It's my hobby and I want to enjoy it, and I'm sure you guys want to enjoy it as well. But by following a good common sense diet, balanced food, you can enjoy the process as well. Yeah. Number 3, reducing the risk of injuries. Yes, this is for me, having recently come out of injury prior to my previous marathon, which I had to withdraw. Injuries, there's ways in which we can reduce the risk of injuries, not prevent them completely, because sometimes injuries just happen. I can't explain it, I'm not a doctor, and from the feedback I've had from many of you, sometimes things just happen with our bodies, but there's ways of reducing the risks, and there's a number of key things, 2 key things. There might be some other ones on the top there, but there's 2 key things in terms of reducing the risk of injuries, and that is before every workout. In particular, if you're doing some speed sessions, tempo sessions, threshold runs, is to do a dynamic warm-up to warm up the muscles beforehand, before you actually do your training session. So before you go into any sprints, repeats or anything like that, is to do a 10-15 minute easy run warm-up, get the muscles warmed up, do some drills, get those drills done, and then go into the session, which which comes on to the second part that's essential, and that is after you've done your training runs. But again, this is more important, not just whether you do speed sessions, tempos, but even after an easy run, a long easy run, it's essential to do stretches after your training session, because as we do the training, the muscles contract and we need to stretch them back out with the static stretches to stretch them back to their normal length, ready for the next training run. Otherwise we'll wake up and we may have cramps and may not be able to do the next training session, which comes back to keeping our training consistent. So the static stretches at the end of every training session is essential to helping reducing the risk of injuries. And then when I said the third potential that can help, not essential, but I heard for a lot of people it can help, and that is foam rolling, massages, ice baths, all that type of stuff that help with the recovery after the sessions. So those are things you can look up and try, but for me, I don't do any of it. I do a bit of foam rolling as and when, but the key things for me is the warm-ups and the stretches afterwards. Okay. Number four, maybe what a lot of you have been waiting for, race day strategy. What's the strategy we need for the race to run a fast, a Boston qualifier, a fast marathon pace? Yeah, what do we need to do? Well, we get up in the morning and that's the first thing we need to do is getting up. What do we have for breakfast? Now again, everybody's different, and this is where it's essential as part of the training plans to simulate what you're going to have for breakfast on the race day, and then go out on your long runs and see what works, because sometimes the certain types of foods that we eat may not react or respond in a nice way when we're doing our race itself. It's essential to try that. There's all sorts of tips and tricks. I hear some people take caffeine in the morning, have a coffee or whatever. But for me, I know if I have that coffee, then I'll be maybe paying regular visits to particular portaloos. So that doesn't work for me. I know that doesn't work because I've tried it and it doesn't work. So there are certain things, certain types of foods, but I would allow in terms of eating solids and so on. For me, I just have a bagel and some herbal tea. That's all I have for my breakfast. And around 2 hours before the race, 2 hours before the actual race, that's what I'll have. Now again, it's different for different people, and dial in and work in what works for you during your training run. So it's essential to feel comfortable and happy that what you've eaten, that you've not overeaten and that you've not undereaten. Although I hear some people go out and do a race and they've not had any breakfast, which comes on to what they have during the race itself. So you got to your race, you're ready to go. Allow plenty of time to get to the start race, depending on how big the race is. For some of the marathon majors, like New York, Chicago, you have set times that you have to arrive at the pen, and you will be waiting there for a long time. And that's why it's essential that depending on what time your race is actually starting, you may need to take some snacks and foods with you to the start of the race and have those before you have. Because when I was waiting for New York City Marathon to start, by the time my bus had transported me to the start, there was a couple of hours before the start. Now, some of these races have sponsors and they have food. I know at New York there was Dunkin' Donuts was there, and they had coffee, bagels, all sorts of free stuff. There was food bars, there was chai bars, there was everything. You name it, you could eat it all. But obviously, if you, coming back to what I said earlier, if you eat too much, you're gonna get stomach cramps, or it's gonna weigh you down. Even if you don't get stomach cramps, it'll be heavier on you. So don't overeat and don't overdrink. Whilst it's essential to be hydrated, sometimes we tend to overdo it. I think I've heard a phrase that you get to the start with just enough that you don't want to go to the loo, but you can remain hydrated, yeah? So that's in terms of your prep, of being there ready to the start of the race. But the race itself, what strategies? For me, the key strategy for the actual race itself, in terms of the pace that you run at, or effort, is to go off easy. Start easy and then slowly build it up. Now for some people, they go a steady pace all the way through. but work out what works for you. For me, I start off easy, so the first couple of miles I'm just easing into my pace, and then I'll try and lock in a particular pace, and I will hold that even all the way through. I'm not going to speed up towards the end or anything. For me, I hold that pace all the way through. You may have heard of the phrase of negative splits. That is where the first half of the marathon you run at a particular pace, and the second half you run at a faster pace. But for some reason, I feel that's a bit of a myth for a lot of people. There are people who do that and they execute it brilliantly, yeah? But that's few and far between. And there were some statistics done with elite athletes, and they found that the majority was even splits. Even split all the way through. Now, whilst I appreciate when you get to mile 20, the last 6 miles will feel really hard, yeah? And you feel like you've speeded up, but really it's the same pace as it was back at mile 10, mile 13, but it feels really tough and harder to maintain that pace because obviously we've expended a lot of energy. But throughout the race, it's essential to use the eating strategies that you've practiced in training. So whether it be gels or chai bars, whatever you eat, or jelly beans, whatever you eat at certain times of the race to maintain your level of energy, because there's that famous thing that everybody fears of, and that is hitting that proverbial wall, which is where our glycogen level has depleted so much that we're working on minimum amount of energy, and once we deplete that, then we literally almost come to a standstill, which is why the phrase called hitting the wall. We really just flop and lose all energies and slow right down. Now, we don't want to do that, and we want to have an even pace and take on. For me, I take on gels, and telling you how often I take my gels means absolutely nothing, because the amount of energies that we need to take is dependent on our age, sex, height, weight, all that type of thing. So we're all different. You need to work out what works for you. All I can say is you need to be taking on energy at a steady amount throughout the race. So whether you start taking them on after half an hour, some people pop a gel immediately at the start and then follow that all the way through at a set amount of times. Do what works for you, but it's essential to have that working for you. And hopefully, as I found in my second marathon, I didn't hit any wall and finished at a fantastic time that qualified me for all the marathon majors, and I'm still getting quicker. If you wanted to have a look at that race, it's over at Frankfurt Marathon. Yes, link up there. Frankfurt Marathon was my second race. So hopefully there's enough tips in there to help with your particular race strategy for that marathon race. So number 5, in summary, what can I say for all the points that I've covered, whether it be the training plan, whether it be the diet, reduction risks of injuries, race day strategies. In summary, they're all as important as each other. Some people may feel some are more important than others, but all of them, for me, it's looking at the whole thing in a holistic way and ensuring that they all work together. Because at the end of the day, doing a great training plan and not executing it well during actual race day, it doesn't correlate, does it? And also not doing the stretches after a training run really can hinder the actual training that you want to do. So in essence, I hope that all these points that I've covered have helped you in some way. As I said, we want these to be interactive, so leave some comments below if you found any of this information helpful in some way, tips, and also what works for you. Let us know what works for you, and I'd love to hear from you. And you can feel free to comment on other people's comments, have a read through, and I very much enjoyed putting this together, and hopefully it will help you to run a faster marathon. And I'd love to hear from you if and when you do get that Good for Age qualifier for London, Boston Marathon qualifier, so you can join me on the marathon major races around the world. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it in some way, give it a thumbs up, found it useful, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you at the next Fun and Fast, or is it Fast and Fun Friday Run Series? Yeah? So wherever you are, whatever you do, keep running, and by the way, be seeing you.